Like, people just get tired of it.
Yeah, as the conflict drags on,
I think.
and even if the support continues, will it be unified?
Right.
Or will those cracks in the West start to show?
Like the tension between the U.S. and Europe.
Exactly. And another big factor is what's happening inside Russia. How are the Russian people feeling about the war? Are they getting tired of it? Is
Right.
the economy hurting them?
Mm-hmm.
Could all of that pressure Putin into changing his strategy?
That's a good point.
Mm.
Well, what about China?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
China's a big player here.
They've been kind of playing both sides a little bit.
Right.
Will they keep supporting Russia kind of behind the scenes?
Mm-hmm.
Or will they try to distance themselves to protect their own interests?
Well, China could benefit if the West is weakened.
Yeah.
But they also don't want the global economy to go down the drain.
Right.
So they're trying to walk a fine line.
So we've got internal politics,
Yeah.
international alliances,
Mm-hmm.
economic interests. It's a lot.
It's a lot going on.
It's enough to make your head spin.
It is.
But, you know, with all this complexity, I keep coming back to the human cost of this conflict.
Yeah.
Millions of Ukrainians have had to leave their homes.
Mm.
Thousands of people have died.
It's a tragedy.
And the trauma that this is causing is going to last for generations. It's easy to get caught up in all the political stuff
Yeah.
and forget about the real people whose lives have been completely shattered by all of this.
You're absolutely right. We can't forget about the human element.
We can't. It's a reminder of why finding a peaceful solution is so important.
It is.
But with all these different interests and potential problems, it's not easy to see how we get there.
No, it's not.
So what advice would you give someone who's trying to make sense of all this?
That's a tough one. I think the most important thing is to be really critical of the information you come across.
Okay.
We live in a world where there's just so much information coming from everywhere.
Right.
And it's easy to feel overwhelmed and even to believe things that aren't true.
Right.
So don't just accept everything you hear or read.
Okay.
Question your sources, look for different perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
and be willing to change your mind if you see new evidence.
So it's about being active
Yeah,
in how we learn about the world,
exactly.
not just taking in whatever comes our way.
Yeah. We need to be careful about the information we consume,
Right.
especially when it comes to issues like this that are so complex and emotional.
Yeah.
So ask tough questions.
Okay.
Challenge your own assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
And keep looking for the truth,
Yeah.
even when it's hard.
We're all just trying to figure things out,
We are.
and sometimes it feels like we're grasping at straws.
Yeah.
But if we stay informed, if we're critical and engaged,
Yeah.
then maybe we can navigate all this uncertainty
Mm.
with a little bit more clarity and purpose.
You know, even with all the chaos and the uncertainty,
Yeah,
there's still hope.
there is.
Humans are resilient.
We are.
We're compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
And we always keep searching for peace.
Yeah.
Even in the darkest times, that hope is still there.
That's a really nice thought.
It is.
And it reminds us that even though we don't have all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
we can still choose to act with empathy and understanding
Right.
and a belief that things can get better.
I completely agree. Sometimes that's all we can do. Yeah,
But it's still powerful.
it is. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into all the diplomacy happening around the conflict in Ukraine,
Yeah,
I have to say I'm feeling a mix of hope and apprehension.
I understand.
There are a lot of challenges ahead,
There are.
but the stakes are too high to just give up on peace.
I agree. The decisions that are made in the coming weeks and months are going to have a huge impact
Yeah,
on Ukraine, on Europe, on the entire world.
it's true. We need clear thinking. We need bold leadership.
Mm.
And we need people who are committed to finding solutions that put peace and human dignity first.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we really try to do here on the deep dive. You know,
Yeah.
we want to give people the information they need,
Right.
the perspectives that'll help them make sense of this crazy world.
Yeah.
It is a crazy world.
And sometimes that means asking really tough questions
Oh, yeah,
and admitting that there might not be any easy answers.
definitely.
But that's what makes this whole journey of learning so interesting, don't you think? I think so. I mean, I think that's the fun part, right?
Yeah.
Embracing the fact that things are complicated and messy.
Yeah.
That's where you really start to understand things.
Okay, so speaking of messy, I want to go back to that whole Zelensky-Trump thing for a second.
Oh, yeah.
The article mentioned that Trump might have actually accused Zelensky of, like, gambling with World War III.
That's a pretty intense thing to say.
It is. So is that just Trump being Trump, or is there something more to it?
I mean, it's definitely a strong statement, but I think it reflects a real concern that a lot of people have,
Okay.
that this conflict could escalate
Right.
and spread beyond Ukraine.
So the worry is that if the West keeps sending weapons,
Yeah, especially really advanced weapons.
it could push Russia to do something even more drastic.
Exactly.
So it's like this balancing act.
It is.
You want to help Ukraine defend itself,
Right.
but you also don't want to do anything that could trigger a bigger war.
It's a tough situation.
Yeah, it's like walking a tightrope.
It really is. And that's why I think these diplomatic efforts are so important right now.
Yeah.
Finding a way to de-escalate things to get people talking again,
Right.
to come to some kind of agreement.
Okay.
That's the only way to stop this from spiraling out of control.
But let's be real here. A negotiated settlement means compromise.
It does.
And right now, it doesn't seem like either side is willing to budge.
No, they're pretty dug in.
So what would it even take?
That's the big question.
What kind of concessions would both Ukraine and Russia have to make to actually reach a deal?
Well, for Ukraine, I think it would probably involve giving up some territory.
Okay.
Maybe acknowledging that Crimea is part of Russia now.
Right.
And maybe accepting that the Donbas region should have some level of autonomy.
I can't imagine that would be easy for Zelensky
No.
or for the Ukrainian people.
It would be a tough pill to swallow.
They've fought so hard to defend their country.
They have. They've shown incredible resilience.
So accepting those kinds of losses would be heartbreaking.
It would be a major sacrifice.
And what about Russia?
Yeah.
What would they have to give up to make a deal that the West could live with?
I think for Russia, a deal that would work would probably involve pulling all their troops out of Ukraine,
Okay.
guaranteeing that Ukraine would stay neutral,
Right.
and maybe even paying some kind of reparations for all the damage they've caused.
So basically both sides would have to walk back some of their demands,
Yeah, essentially.
which seems pretty unlikely right now.
It does seem unlikely given how much tension there is between them.
Right.
But, history has shown us that even the most impossible conflicts
Yeah.
can be resolved if people are willing to talk and compromise.
Okay.
The key is finding that common ground,
Right.
rebuilding trust.
And realizing that everyone benefits when there's peace.
Exactly.
You mentioned Ukraine staying neutral.
I did.
What would that look like?
Well, it could mean a few different things.
Okay.
Maybe Ukraine would officially agree not to join any military alliances. Or maybe there would be limits on the types of weapons they could have.
Right.
But the details would have to be worked out very carefully.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject.
It is.
Because for Ukraine, being a part of NATO means safety.
It does.
It means knowing that they won't have to face Russia alone again.
Exactly. And for Russia, having Ukraine in NATO is like a worst-case scenario.
Right.
They see it as the West putting troops right on their border.
So the challenge is finding a way to make both sides feel secure
Yeah.
without leaving Ukraine vulnerable.
It's a tough puzzle to solve.
It is. It really is. Okay, so let's just say for a minute that a peace deal actually happens.
Okay.
What then?
What happens next?
How do you even begin to rebuild a country that's been destroyed by war?
Right.
How do you heal all the division and the trauma?
That's the real challenge, isn't it?
It is.
That's the long game.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more than just rebuilding roads and buildings.
Right. You have to rebuild trust.
You have to rebuild communities.
Yeah.
You have to rebuild a sense of shared identity.
And then there's the psychological trauma.
So much trauma.
Millions of Ukrainians have been through so much.
It's true.
That's going to take generations to heal.
It will take time, and it's going to take a lot of work to address all the issues.
Yeah.
Justice, accountability, reconciliation,
Yeah.
creating spaces where people can talk and heal and forgive.
It's a long road.
It is a long road,
Yeah.
but it's the only way to build a lasting peace.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm really struck by how complicated this whole conflict is.
It is complicated.
There's so much history.
layers and layers of it.
Politics, economics,
Yeah.
human emotions.
It's all tangled up together.
It's a reminder that there aren't any easy answers
No, not at all.
to these global problems.
But even with all the complexity,
Yeah.
even when things seem impossible,
Mm-hmm.
we can't lose sight of the fact that peace is still possible.
It is.
It's going to take a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of commitment.
And a willingness to have those tough conversations,
Exactly.
even when they're uncomfortable.
That's a great point, and I think that's a good takeaway for our listeners today.
Okay.
Peace isn't something that just happens.
Right.
It's a choice that we have to make every day.
In the way we talk to each other,
Yeah.
the information we look for,
Mm.
the things we do.
Exactly.
So let this deep dive be a starting point for you.
Keep learning.
Yeah. Keep asking those questions.
Challenge your assumptions.
And never give up on hope.
Never give up on hope.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
And until then, stay curious and keep learning.